All right, let's talk about something that drives everyone crazy: inventory that lies to your face. Today, we're going to break down a proven playbook, a real framework to get you out of that chaos of where did that part go and into a system of calm, profitable control. So let's just jump right in. Oh, you know that feeling, right? That sickening twist in your gut when the computer says you have the part, but you're just staring at an empty shelf? It's pure panic. And look, this isn't just some small headache. It's a symptom of a much bigger problem, one that's costing businesses a fortune in time, money, and most importantly, trust. And it's a game you're forced to play again and again and again. Every single time you have to halt production or delay a shipment or tell a customer, we just can't find it, you are losing. This whole cycle of constant firefighting isn't just inefficient, it's a total drain on morale and, you bet, your bottom line. Now get ready for this number, because it is, frankly, pretty shocking. For a lot of companies, the average inventory accuracy rate is floating somewhere around a dismal 65%. Just think about that for a second. We're making huge, critical business decisions based on data that is flat out wrong more than a third of the time. I mean, come on, we can do so much better. So, to make this all feel a bit more real, let's walk through a little story. It's one of those high-stakes situations that forces a decision, and that decision leads you down one of two very different paths with two vastly different endings. So, picture this. The pressure is on. Your biggest customer needs their order by the end of the day. Every single minute that machine is sitting idle, you're just bleeding money. The instinct, right? That scream from your gut is just, do something, anything, do it now. And this is exactly where the big mistake usually happens. In that mad rush to just act, we often grab the wrong solution. That fast fix feels super productive in the moment, but it often ends up costing you double down the line because you never actually solved the real problem. Okay, so let's look at our two paths. Path one, I call that the expensive guess. Someone panics and yells, our software's broken, and boom, 6 months and $50,000 later, you've got this shiny new system, but guess what? Parts are still going missing. Now, path two is the intelligent experiment. Someone says, hang on, let's just test a theory. For the cost of a clipboard and a pen, maybe $20, you learn in 2 weeks that the real issue is people are grabbing parts for emergency repairs and forgetting to log them. I mean, the difference is just night and day, right? It's reacting versus actually thinking. So the big question is, how do we make sure we choose that second path every single time? Well, it takes a totally different way of thinking. It's about getting that slowing down to think is actually the fastest way to get to the right answer. And this is the power of the PDCA cycle: plan, do, check, and act. I absolutely love this quote because it's so true. Our brains, they're just wired to jump to conclusions, right? To assume we already know the answer. PDCA is just a simple, structured process that forces us to hit the pause button, to challenge our own assumptions, and to replace that overconfidence with actual evidence before we start throwing money around. And the process itself is just a beautifully simple loop. First, you plan. You form a clear hypothesis about what's going on. Second, you do. You run a small, low-cost experiment to test it. Third, and this is so crucial, you check the results honestly. You're not trying to be right, you're trying to learn. And finally, you act on what you found out, either by scaling up the solution or starting the cycle all over again with a new plan. Okay, so that PDCA mindset is fantastic, but how do we actually apply it when we're working with a team on these really complex problems? We need a tool, right? A blueprint to guide our thinking. And that tool is the A3 problem-solving framework. The best way to think about the A3 framework is like it's your team's detective kit or lab notebook. It's all on a single sheet of paper, and it tells the entire story of a problem, from the painful symptoms at the beginning all the way to a validated, sustainable solution at the end. It forces you to stick to the facts, not just opinions, and it makes sure everybody is on the exact same page. So the framework just guides you through 8 really logical steps. You start by clearly defining the problem and understanding the current facts before you even think about setting a target. It's only then that you dive into root cause analysis and start brainstorming solutions. And that leads to a concrete action plan that you then validate to see if it actually worked. The last step, capturing what you learned. So every problem actually turns into real progress. So what's the big payoff for all this structure thinking? Well, It's moving from that chaotic 65% accuracy rate to a truly world-class level of over 95%. And listen, this isn't just some number on a spreadsheet. This represents predictability. It represents profitability. It means an end to all those daily fire drills. It is the calm that comes from knowing for a fact that your numbers are real. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but where do you even start? The real beauty of this whole approach is that you don't need a huge budget. You don't need some massive project. You can literally start right now with one small problem and a few simple questions. Seriously, you can do this today. Just pick one recurring inventory problem, I don't care how small, and ask yourself these 3 questions. 1. What do I think is the cause? That's your hypothesis. 2. How can I test that idea cheaply and quickly? That's your experiment. And 3. What will I measure to know for sure if it worked? And that's your check. That's it. That's how you start building that muscle for disciplined problem solving. So, if you remember nothing else from our little chat today, please remember these 4 things. First, every solution is just a guess until you prove it works. Second, small experiments always beat big bets. You learn faster and you fail cheaper. Third, honest checking is where the magic really happens. You have to check to learn, not just to be right. And finally, the A3, it's a starting line. It is not a finish line. It's the beginning of a continuous cycle of getting better. And ultimately, this is the choice we all have to make, right? The rush you get from a fast reactive fix, that's temporary. But the deep satisfaction and the lasting stability that comes from a smart, well-tested solution, that is what truly builds a resilient and profitable operation. So the real question is, which path are you going to choose next time?